Hi, welcome back. In this session, we are going to discuss about the concepts of loops in Python. So if you are aware of the concepts through any other programming language, I request you to skip this video and continue from the next one. This is mainly intended for the person who are completely new in programming language and who doesn't have an idea what is a loop. And talking about the loop is also one of the type of control statements like if statement, but the only difference is that in the loop it will execute the same line of code n number of times. We will see an example here. Suppose this is an if statement in the left side. So we will first declare a value variable x and assign a value 8 to that, and then we are checking here the if statement start if x is less than 10, execute this line of code, that is print this string x is less than 10. So if when you are checking here x is less than 10, yeah, the condition is true. So it will execute this code, then immediately it will exit and come outside of the if statement and print the next one, print end. And so the output will be once we get that line of code, or the line of once only it will get executed and we get the output x is less than 10, then the end. But in the case of loop, we can define how many times this line of code need to be executed. For example, here I executed the same line of code 6 times. So with a condition, we can define, okay, this condition, execute this code 6 times or 10 times. That is the difference from the loop and the if statement. So in if statement, it will execute only once when the condition meets, but in the for loop, we can execute it n number of times. So when we are talking about the types of loops in Python, there are mainly two types of loops, that is while loop and for loop. So first we will see for loop. In for loops, it will we can define, or we have to define how many times the loop need to execute, or the line should be executed. That means we can define first only, initial only, run the code for 3 times. So that means this line of code, print x is less than 10, that will execute 3 times and the output will be like this. It will execute 3 times. That is the for loop. And in the while loop, we will not give the number of count, or the count, or how many times the loops need to execute. Instead of, we will give a condition. Until the condition meets, the loop should run. That means it will print this statement, this x is less than 10, until the condition meets. That may be 5 times, 10 times, or n number of times. So we can compare that with a simple example. For example, a teacher is telling a student, read this poem 10 times. That is an example of a for loop. That means whether you by heart it or not, just read it 10 times. So he is giving an count 10 times, read this 10 times. That is a for loop. And when the same teacher is telling, read the poem until you by heart, so there is a condition there. It's not giving the count, there is a condition, until you by heart keep reading the poem. So that is while loop. So this is all about the concepts of loops in Python. So we can say, in conclusion, we can say loops are used to repeat the number of codes or execute a part of the code n number of times. But in if loop, it is only execute once. And the type of loops, we have while loop and for loop in Python. In for loop, we will give the number of times to execute. We initially define the number of times, so the count to execute, how many times need to be executed. But in the while loop, we will give a condition to execute. So we will not give the count, we will give until the condition meets, the loop should execute, or the code should execute. So that is all about the concepts of loops in Python. Now we will be seeing the for loop and while loop individually, and how to execute or write the code in actual Python environment.